Hello everyone, Ajit this side from Syncorum. Today we'll be discussing about custom loops in Salesforce Flows. You might be aware that Salesforce Flows provides a loop element. For that we require a collection variable. However, there are scenarios where we want to repeat certain steps but we don't have collection variable. In these cases we use custom loops. Let's learn this through a scenario. Suppose our requirement is to create a time entry for every date between the start date and the end date of a timesheet record. So let's get into it. Let me open the timesheet. Here on the timesheet record, we have this checkbox. So whenever this checkbox is created, we need to create time entry for every date between the start date and the end date. Okay, so let's see how we can accomplish this using Salesforce Flow. So as this will be triggering from a record, we'll be creating a record triggered flow. So for that, let's go into setup. Let me search for flow. Start from scratch, and as this will be triggering from a record, so we'll use a record triggered flow. Here in the record triggered flow, it will be timesheet. We just want to run it whenever a timesheet record is created, so we'll choose a record is created, and the condition is we need to check that checkbox is checked or not. So here's the auto created time entries checkbox, and let's set the value to true. So now whenever we talk about custom loop, it has three elements like the initialization of the variable, the condition, and the third part is incrementing that initial variable. So let's start by creating a variable. In this case, as we need to iterate over date, so our data type would be date. So let me call it as current date. Now we'll initialize this date with the start date of the timesheet record. So we'll use the assignment element, and let's call it as initialize. Here we need to set the current date that will be equal to timesheet record start date. So now as we have initialized our variable, the next step is to create a decision element. So for that, let me use a decision element. In the decision element, we need to check whether the current date is less than or equal to end date of the timesheet record. So let's label it check current date is valid, and here and in the conditions we need to check whether the current date is less than or equal to the end date of the timesheet record. Timesheet end date. Okay. So now whenever the current date is less than equal to timesheet end date, we'll be creating assignment element. In this assignment element, we'll be creating a time entry record. And as we have to create multiple time entry record, let's declare a variable to store multiple time entry records. So I'll go to this new resource. Variable, let's call it time entries. Here this would be a record type, and the object will be timesheet entry, and it allow multiple. Okay. Now in this collection variable, we'll initialize entry. Here also, like when we create this time entry record, we need to create a record variable. So for that, let me create a time entry record variable. Here the data type is record, and the object is timesheet entry. Now let's populate the values in this time entry record. Here we need to populate the start time. That is, let's populate it with current date, and time entry end time is also current date. And here we need to link it with the time timesheet id equal to record.id. Now for now let's just populate these field also, like these field like start time and end time, these are date time field, but for this example we'll be considering the date field itself. And then the next step is to add this time entry record into this collection variable. So time entries, and then I'll add the time entry record in this collection variable. Also, once this create time entry is done, we'll create another assignment operator, or we can use the same assignment operator to increase our date value. So what we'll do is correct, and then in this we'll add day and add 1. So this increment the day by 1. Okay, now we'll link this create time entry with the decision element. So now this is being connected. So whenever it goes to the decision element, it will check whether the current date is less than equal to the end date of the timesheet. If not, then it will come to create time entry. It will do the repetition again and again until the current date exceeds the timesheet end date. Once that's done, what we'll do is we'll go here and then create records. Here we need to create time entry. So we'll just write insert time entries. From we need to create multiple records, and we have this collection variable. So this is done. Now we'll save this flow. Call it insert multiple time entries. Click save. Click save. Now let's activate the flow. As our flow is activated, let's go to the timesheet record and let's try creating one timesheet record. So let's say the start date is 17th June and the end date is 21st, and let me check this box and click save. Okay, let me add the service resource as well and click save. So this timesheet record is created, and if I go to the related list, here you can see we do have timesheet entry records like starting from 16, 17, 18, 19, 20th. Let's try another example for a duration of a month. So again click on new, and here let's select the start date as 1st of June and the end date is end of June, and let me check this box and select the service resource. Now when I click save, timesheet record is being created, and if I go to the related list, here you can see time entry records for the entire duration is created. So that's it for today, guys. This is how we can create custom loops within Salesforce Flow. Remember to consider all the Salesforce Flow limit while implementing this. Thanks for watching, guys.